Hi, I'm Gail Sokol. On today's show, we're going to be discussing chocolate in a 3-part series.
Welcome to Baking Radio. Learn the art and science of baking with author, educator, and award-winning chef, Gail Sokol. Whether you've been baking your whole life or you're brand new to the world of baking and you're looking to build your confidence and learn new skills in the kitchen, you're in the right place. This is Baking Radio.
So today I decided we were going to talk about chocolate, and who doesn't want to talk about chocolate? But chocolate cannot be done in one show. It's a big subject. So I thought it might be helpful to do it in a 3-part series, like a trifecta, and really discuss it in detail. I want to first explain what it is, its origins, and how it's made. And then we'll go into some more nuances about chocolate. So, how do you tell if chocolate in general is of high quality? Put some on your tongue. Go get some chocolate right now. Go get some chocolate. It could be any brand you want. Could be from a less pricey manufacturer. It could be from a very famous brand that's a little pricey. But take a piece of each one separately. Put it on your tongue and let it melt. Don't talk. Let it melt, and you can tell if it is actually of high quality. It will melt into a smooth, creamy puddle on your tongue, and that's because of the fat in the chocolate. That's the cocoa butter, if it's high quality. Now, if it's not high quality, it may be vegetable shortening, and that doesn't taste as good as cocoa butter. So you may taste a film in the back of your tongue as you're swallowing it. And that's not going to taste as rich and creamy as a higher quality chocolate. So really, let's begin. Where does chocolate, the basis of chocolate, come from? So it's from the Theobroma cacao plant, or the cacao tree, which grows in warm, moist tropical areas all over the world, like Africa, South America, Asia, and even within the United States, Hawaii. So the fruit of the cacao tree is in the form of football-shaped pods. I'm not kidding you. They look like football-shaped pods. And you don't eat the whole pod. Inside each pod, there's a white pulp. You don't eat the white pulp either. And it surrounds 20 to 40 cacao beans. Chocolate is usually harvested by hand because these pods are so fragile, and that's why it can get a little pricey. So there's natural yeast on all plants that grow. If you've ever gone apple picking, you can see sometimes some white stuff on the apples. That's natural yeast, and it grows on any plant, any vegetable, any fruit. So there is a natural yeast on chocolate as well. And the beans, the cacao beans, are removed from the pod and they're allowed to ferment. So if there's natural yeast on them, they're going to be able to ferment. And remember the fermentation process, that sugar in the presence of yeast produces 2 products, carbon dioxide and alcohol. And that's what we're going to get, carbon dioxide and alcohol. And I was in the presence of some fermenting cacao beans when I actually did a DVD series for my first book about professional baking. And you could really smell the alcohol as these cacao beans were fermenting. So the natural yeast will literally undergo this fermentation process. And it will commonly be seen on any fruit-bearing plant, like I said. And allowing these beans to ferment, they're just allowed to ferment. Sometimes they're allowed to ferment right on the ground in the sun, and it will develop their chocolatey flavor. Now, after the fermentation process is complete and the manufacturer has decided that it is done to their liking, the beans are dried. They have to be dried. If they're not dried, the fermentation process will continue until the yeast die off. And they're dried, and then they're sent to various chocolate manufacturers all over the world. And there are many types of chocolate beans. There's various actual species, different types. So these chocolate beans are then roasted to develop their flavor, and they may even be blended with other beans. So you may have a combo blending, almost like coffee beans are as well. Next, the beans are crushed because they have a hard outer hull or shell, and you don't want to eat that. It will smell like cocoa, but you don't want to eat that because it'll break your tooth. So inside each shell, there's this teeny little covered bean, and that's known as a nib, N-I-B. And chocolate nibs are really big. It's sort of a trend right now. You can actually buy them and put them in things. They have this earthy, chocolatey flavor, but very rustic because they haven't been fully developed. You can put them into brownies and cookies and cakes, but they do give a little bit of an earthiness. It's not exactly as refined as you would think chocolate would be because it's just the nibs. So these little nibs are pulverized. They're smashed into smaller and smaller particles, and eventually they form what's known as this dark liquid that is known as chocolate liquor. And I'm going to spell it for you. Liqueur. But there's no alcohol in it. But that's what it's called, chocolate liquor. But remember, no alcohol is involved. So at this point, chocolate liquor is put into a machine, this huge vat, and it's shaped like a conch shell. And it's actually known as conching, Conching. And the blades of this machine, this vat, rotates this melted chocolate liquor, and it's called chocolate liquor. And this process ensures a smooth texture. It will remove any excess moisture, any volatile acids in the chocolate that are off flavors or can produce off flavors. It'll get rid of them. It may be in this conch shell like vat for a couple of days. So every manufacturer is different. Now, if the chocolate liquor just on its own is poured into block molds, cooled, and then sold, it's what we associate with unsweetened chocolate or baking chocolate. And we can buy it in the grocery store in blocks. That is chocolate liquor. No sugar added. If chocolate liquor is combined with just a little sugar and sometimes some added cocoa butter, some vanilla, and sometimes an emulsifying agent, usually lecithin, that's an emulsifying agent to hold everything together, you will produce semi-sweet or bittersweet chocolate. If the chocolate liquor is combined with even more sugar and milk solids and maybe vanilla, you are going to have milk chocolate. So you can see how various paths this chocolate liquor can take depending on what that manufacturer is making. So between choosing which chocolate we want to purchase, unsweetened, bittersweet, or semi-sweet, or even milk chocolate, what determines the quality? What determines the quality of chocolate? It's the fat content. So that's the cocoa butter. The fat of chocolate, true, real chocolate, is cocoa butter. That is a saturated fat. We usually associated saturated fats with bad things like butter and lard, and they're going to raise your cholesterol, and the doctor says, oh, don't eat them anymore. But saturated fat from cocoa butter has been rumored to not increase cholesterol levels the same way that a steak would, or something from an animal that is saturated. So the more cocoa butter a chocolate contains, the higher quality it is known to be, and the better mouthfeel it will have. What is mouthfeel? It's how the chocolate melts on your tongue. So when I asked you to put different types of chocolate in your mouth and let them melt, that's mouthfeel. How does it feel to you? And it's a very personal experience. If it melts into this silky puddle, like I said before, it's high quality. If you can sort of get a waxy, fatty coating on your tongue, that's not high quality. That's probably got vegetable shortening in it. And many lower quality chocolates use vegetable shortening. Sometimes they use a combo of cocoa butter and vegetable shortening, but you can taste it. It's not great. And that's what we love about chocolate. It's this beautiful meltability. It melts just below body temperature, our body temperature. So if you put it in your mouth and let it sit on your tongue, it's going to melt. Now, if you want to separate out cocoa butter, you can do that. So you take your chocolate liquor. You personally can't, but chocolate manufacturers can. They can actually separate it out and isolate it during the process of making this chocolate liquor. So when the chocolate liquor with the cocoa butter in it is separated out, so they separate chocolate liquor from the cocoa butter, the thing that is left, the stuff that is left is cocoa powder. So when they take chocolate liquor and they take out the cocoa butter, when they take out the fat, you end up with cocoa powder. And we all know cocoa powder has much less fat in it than chocolate itself, than regular block chocolate. It's used in many baking recipes, anywhere from hot cocoa to chocolate cakes, cookies, and any other pastries. Sometimes a recipe may even call for something called Dutch process cocoa. Have you ever heard of that? And you ever wonder what it is? Well, cocoa powder that forms naturally from the separation of the cocoa butter from chocolate liquor is naturally an acidic product. It's naturally acidic. So regular cocoa powder is acidic. And the reason I'm bringing this up, it means it will react with something that needs an acid, like a chemical leavener like baking soda. Baking soda needs an acid to react, to form a neutralization reaction to form carbon dioxide gas bubbles. That's why it's known as a chemical leavener. Baking soda is, right? So it will help you leaven your baked good. So when natural cocoa powder has been treated with what's known as an alkali, a basic solution, a pH of over 7, the opposite of acidic, the natural acidity is actually neutralized and it will not react with baking soda. You'll get a darker in color cocoa powder and it won't be acidic. Now, some people prefer Dutch process. You'll see various recipes they'll call for Dutch process versus regular. They'll just say unsweetened cocoa powder. And unsweetened cocoa powder is naturally acidic. So there is one chocolate I didn't mention yet. And maybe you were thinking it, like, why didn't I mention this? White chocolate. What is white chocolate? Well, white chocolate, it's not really chocolate. Am I telling you something you don't know? White chocolate's really not chocolate. It's actually flavored fat. It's actually flavored fat. Isn't that wild? The highest quality white chocolate contains cocoa butter and flavorings like vanilla, and lower quality white chocolate is made from little or no cocoa butter. It may have some milk solids in it, some sugar, and vegetable shortening, plus flavorings, maybe like vanilla type flavoring. So white chocolate is really flavored fat. Isn't that crazy? So now you know. I mean, it's wild, to see all these various types of chocolate. And when you get various different brands of chocolate, I want you to pay attention to this because the quality and level of sweetness and actual, degrees of how good it is, how the quality of the chocolate will vary from manufacturer to manufacturer. And manufacturers, there's a lot of fabulous manufacturers all over the world, but the quality will vary. You have to pick the one you like, and it may be the cheaper one. It may be the one you buy in the grocery store, and it's not a big deal. You just have to decide what type of chocolate you want to bake with, what type of chocolate you want to eat. And I know it's a tough job, but you have to sort of research it in detail, you have to figure out, what type of chocolate do I like? Maybe I need to research and explore this. And I do this all the time. I buy different brands, take a square of each one, see how they melt, taste them, feed them to my kids, feed them to my husband, ask them how they like them, and actually see how long they take to melt on your tongue. And do they leave an aftertaste? Do they leave a film? And it actually is a very interesting process. We all have subjective views of what good chocolate should be. And I know everybody does. If you're a chocolate lover like I am, I love it. And I really do love to get back to the research that shows that chocolate doesn't really raise your blood cholesterol levels as badly or as dangerously as some, bad foods for you, quote unquote, bad foods like animal fat. Well, I'm really glad that it does have some polyphenols in it. The darker and more bittersweet the chocolate is, it actually has antioxidants in it. It's actually good for you. So, but you can't OD on it, okay? Because it does have fat. Remember that cocoa butter packs a lot of fat calories. So just remember that. So today we learned about chocolate, where it comes from, how it's made, what really, how you can tell if it's high quality. So now you have to go out and do some research. And, if you have any questions about this particular program, head on over to bakingradio.com and leave me a message. I would love to answer some of your questions on air. And if you've enjoyed this episode on chocolate today, hit the subscribe button. And if you'd like to leave a review, I would greatly appreciate it. On the next show, it's chocolate again, part 2.